Hello and welcome to another video where I talk all about this game that we're all incredibly hyped about, Europa Universalis 5. If you're not already aware, the game is going to be coming out on the 4th of November, and if you wish to pre-order the game, there is a link in the pinned comment where you can buy it from the Paradox store, and I get a little bit of a cutback of the sale, which would be very nice. If you're not interested in pre-ordering, that's totally fine. But, you know, maybe you could save the link and then buy it from there on release day. That's also totally fine. Either way, whatever, that's not important. What is important is the topics that I got to talk about today. Firstly, I'm going to have a look again at the hardware requirements for the game. There's a little bit more information about that, a few more responses by Rosarnus in his thread, and just a little bit, a little bit more of a deep dive into what requirements are actually, necessary. Because showing the absolute minimum and the absolute maximum, I mean, there's a whole middle ground there, which is not really being talked about. Secondly, I want to have a talk about achievements in the game, and especially the topic of should Europa Universalis 5 require you to play with Ironman mode on to get achievements. There's been a bit of a calamity in the forums where a lot of people are arguing about whether this should be the case or not, and I want to give my 2 cents. But first, let us talk a little bit about the hardware situation. So, for starters, they have now added the AMD requirements into the specifications. Minimum spec for AMD is Ryzen 5 3600. I have a Ryzen 5 5600, so I'm 2 generations but the same architecture. I think that's the way it works. Higher than this, which is quite nice. And then for the recommended spec, which is like 4K ultra settings running at 60 FPS, it's a Ryzen 7 78003 XD. This doesn't feel like a real thing, but apparently that's a thing. Okay. But yeah, those are the specs for Ryzen, AMD. So if you're anywhere in between these, then you are probably gonna be just fine. That seems reasonable enough for me. There's also this comment here talking about integrated graphics. They don't have any info on integrated graphics just yet. Most of them will probably be too weak, though. So if you're on integrated graphics, it's maybe time to get an actual GPU, maybe, potentially. How much hard drive space will the game take up? Currently, it takes around about 20 gigabytes, and if I have a look at my own version, I can say it's taking 17.2 gigabytes for me. Obviously, the version of the game that I have is not the same as the version of the game that the devs have, and also there's a lot of things still to do. There's 75 days or so of updates yet to go into the game, so there's more coming there. But just to give what my own experience along with the forum developer commentary, I feel like is sometimes valuable. So there you go. So it's not mistaken Steam's pre-launch minimum specs. There genuinely won't be any Mac version on release. Will there ever be a Mac version? No, there is no Mac version on release. They can't say for the future. They don't have any current plans to add it. But no, there will not be a Mac version on release. So if you are on a Mac and you really want to play EU5, you're gonna either, I don't know how emulation of Windows works on Mac, I don't know if that's a thing or not, or you just need to, get yourself on Windows, unfortunately. But, Lambert, I hear you cry. What about Linux? Well, there's some information about that as well. There is no Linux support, but if you are using not what is it called, the Proton, there it is. If you are using Proton, you're probably going to be fine, but it's not something that they will actively support. If you are on Linux, you will maybe be able to run it, but there's no promises, and they're not going to give any guarantees like they would if you were playing it on Windows, which is, again, if you're on Linux, it sucks for you, but you might be fine. I don't know, it's the best I can give you right now as regarding information. Any chance of getting a benchmark demo? It's a great idea. Hopefully we will get that at some point in the future. They're also doing based on some feedback, some more information here about tick speed, because these settings that they're giving here, it's all in frame rate, and at a certain point, we don't really care that much about the frame rate. Of course, if it's super low, the frame rate is super choppy, like 5 frames a second, that's obviously impacting the experience of the game significantly. But I would say the difference in enjoyment of the game between 30 and 60 is really not that relevant. It's not that noticeable. This is not a first-person shooter where you need like reflexes and such. That's not the kind of game this is. What is most important when it comes to performance is, of course, the tick speed, or how long it takes for a day to pass in EU5, or I guess an hour, because they do now hourly ticks for combat. That's the big deal. That is the important one, and there is some information about that. They do measure tick speed internally with a specific hardware agnostic solution. So it's an oversight, so hopefully we'll get some more information on that. They'll include measurements when they next do performance testing. As for the fact that they generally test in speed 5, it's because it's most demanding, and his quick test showed that speed 3 and 4 are significantly faster. I assume this is on significantly faster frame rate wise, and it's also done on his own hardware, and they don't have any performance data for multiplayer at the moment. Hopefully they get that to us soon as well. He has expanded on that. Speed 3 and 4 are faster compared to what? Well, there is a small slowdown in frame rate, 39 FPS in 1337, but 34... speed 3 and 4 compared to speed 5 on the same hardware. It's obviously that's what I mean there. But this part here is important as well. As you go further in the game, in EU4, the game will slow down. Here, if you are going in 1337, it's 39 frame rate, but only 34 in 1700s. I'd argue 5 frames less, very much acceptable. I will also say, though, again, the frame rate is not what's killing us, right? I would love to know statistics on how long does it take to pass a full year in 1337 versus 1700. That is, I think, way more important. And he asked his friends from the lab to have a little bit of a rough measurement of the tick speed. Only the 1337, or I guess 1338, from 38 to 39, so January to January, it takes 100 seconds on minimum spec 1080p low doodads. On the super high ultra settings at 1080p, it takes 35 seconds to go from go a year. So there, that's where we're at when it comes to the topic of performance. This thread, like I said, it has about 5 full pages of responses by Rosarnus, asking, is my hardware here any good? So I will leave a link to this thread in the comment section below or in the description. You go through, if you go to the top of the page, click only developer responses, and you can scroll down and see if anyone has asked about your specific settings, and see if he's done an answer to that. That would be a good idea, in my opinion. Now, moving on to the second topic, and the one that I think might take a little bit longer to talk about. Achievements. In Tinto Talks 77 on Wednesday, it was asked, will Ironman mode be a requirement for achievements? The answer was yes. And you can see here it's a little controversial. 103 likes, 103 dislikes, a little bit of extra stuff in here. But it's not something that we didn't already know, because we had this thread here, feeling disheartened and empty about achievements in Ironman mode. This was from back in September 2024, Johan saying, I personally think getting achievements without Ironman modes and mods is a joke. So unless there's a huge outcry and campaigns against it, that's what is very likely to be the rule. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people dislike this, a lot of people like this. Again, it's just one of those controversial topics. And on the topic of aesthetic mods, changing the UI and such, unfortunately, because in Gemini, the UI, it can do very much a lot of things, a lot more powerful than UI modding in EU4. So it is also going to change the checksum when it comes to that. So Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to, do whatever we want with the UI and still have a Ironman compatible game. Now, my thoughts on this are, I am okay with Ironman being required for achievements. I just am. That's my stance on it, and I'm pretty confident in that. I have seen a bunch of the arguments where saying that it should be opened up. I don't particularly agree with them. I know that CK3 is actually no, CK3 wasn't the one that started. CK3 started with Ironman being required. Victoria 3 came out and it was not required. And then CK3 changed to, I guess, copy that situation where you wouldn't require Ironman mode for achievements, and I believe Stellaris has also followed in that route. And that's fine. If those games want to do that, that's fine. I don't think EU5 should be beholden to that. I guess somehow that's more like a company-wide policy now. But this game was produced by Tinto in Spain, not in Stockholm in an office with all of the rest of the games being developed together. This is set apart. This is Johan's baby. This is his game, essentially. And this is his feelings towards achievements and Ironman. I tend to agree with his take on it. And this is not coming from a place of me being a hardcore achievement hunter and I want it to be this way and that way and whatever. Because, I mean, I've shared this before, but this is my Steam account for EU5, and you can see I have 0 achievements in EU4 after 10,377 hours. Essentially, my perspective is there was a thing in EU5 that I disliked when it came to earning achievements. Because of this thing that I disliked, and specifically here, I'm talking about Lucky Nations. 8 years ago, I made a video saying, don't use Lucky Nations because Lucky Nations is bad. And I'm pretty sure pretty early on in this video, I give the amount of hours. Okay, there, it's right. Hang on, we're just going to click this. Early on, I give the amount of hours I have in EU5, EU4. I keep saying EU5. I had 2,171 hours in EU4 at this point, particular point. I think I've surpassed that now. But yeah, this was 8 years ago, and I had this opinion, and now here we are, 8 years later, and I've stuck by it. I don't like Lucky Nations, so I didn't play for achievements. Now, if we go to the modern day, and we look at this, the people who are feeling disheartened and empty about achievements in Ironman mode, the people that are wanting Ironman achievements to not be ambition Ironman gated, well, maybe they could follow in my example and just not get achievements in EU5 if it matters that much to you. Thankfully, from my perspective, we have known for a long time, since the 27th of March 2024, that there is no Lucky Nations mechanic in EU5. So that barrier to entry for me personally is not there anymore. And so I will be going for achievements. But when I look at this, I think if we were to, say, agree with the people who want to remove the Ironman gate behind achievements, if we're to listen to these people and do what they want, for the people who do enjoy getting achievements, who enjoy the, the difficulty of it, who enjoy the bar to entry, this takes an enjoyment level away from them to make this change, in my opinion. Because if you allow mods, and we've seen this before, you will have people make mods to make the game easier, and then people will use these mods that make the game easier to get these achievements, which devalues the achievements of the people who actually did it, quote-unquote, properly. In my opinion, that alone is enough of an argument to go with the Europa Universalis status quo of Ironman is needed for achievements. That alone is enough for me as an argument. Because, like I said, we have seen this before. The reason that the modern Paradox games don't have the console enabled as standard, and you have to go and do launch commands to enable the console, is because when Imperator came out, there was a bug, there was an ability for people to open the console in Ironman mode, and then there are console commands that let you get a world conquest. I know this because I was there at the time, and I'm pretty sure I actually covered it on my channel. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. I didn't do it myself, but that was a thing that was in that game. I know one of my friends did use this method to get the world conquest, Pax Eterna. And then when I got Pax Eterna, it's devalued. I did it properly. He did it through cheating. And so when I got Pax Eterna and I see, oh, these are a list of your friends on Steam that have also done this achievement, I see my friends there, and it's like, no, but I know you cheated. And it's deep, like, it is a little disheartening. For Victoria 3, when it came out, Ironman mode, not required, you can also use mods, and you can still get achievements. And, like, I do get the idea behind that, but I also know that there was a mod uploaded within a very short amount of time that made it so that you did one action and just got all of the achievements. You could make a mod that changed the code of the game to change the requirements for all of the achievements, and you just got all of them in one go. And I'm pretty sure that was Spudgun that made that, or with Spudgun with help. And that sucks. The ability for that to be a thing sucks. And yeah, not everyone did that. It's not even a significant amount of people that use that method. It could even be less than 100 out of many thousands, right, that play the game. It doesn't matter. The fact that that method exists is enough for me to say, no, this kind of isn't right. This probably shouldn't be the way things are. In my opinion, having Ironman there as the baseline from which you get the achievements from is a perfectly reasonable bar to entry. And it is not something that is gating behind some super amazing kind of gameplay. Because achievements, they're not mandatory. They're not required. They're not essential bits of the experience. The people who really enjoy achievement hunting, well, they've been achievement hunting with Ironman and EU4, and so, you know, all they're getting is something better, which is Ironman without Lucky Nations. If you are so against using Ironman for achievements, you weren't an achievement hunter in EU4 either. So, you're not losing out anything. And yeah, just from that perspective alone, I'm definitely in the camp of Ironman required for achievements. Obviously, it would be great if you could have cosmetic mods. It would be great. I would love that. UI changing mods, quality of life mods. That I love mods. I really do. But the ability to kind of fleece the system is just there. And I know people will say, "Oh, but what about Cheat Engine and Steam Manager and all of these random, you know, third-party tools that let you just turn on any achievement you want?" Yeah, those exist, but they're like a tiny fraction of a fraction of a fraction of people who will go to those lengths to cheat the system. They're not statistically relevant. And I know that feels a little hypocritical because I said that the people who use the the mods in Victoria 3 and the bug in Imperator are not statistically significant either. But I think when you're looking at like arguments against requiring Ironman and saying that, oh, well, people will just cheat anyway, so why not just let everyone do it? Like, a statistically insignificant amount of people will use this cheat engine way to get the achievements. But if you open up the ability to get mods on the workshop that anyone can just go and click and download with, like, 2 clicks and you're done, there's going to be a lot more people, I think, that will use that than will use, a cheat engine. And it doesn't even need to be a mod that gives you all the achievements with one button click like the Victoria 3 one. It can be things like opening the console in the game without having to do a launch command. It can be things like starting the, Italy is unified at the start of the game, or like all of these like minor things that make the game easier, because EU5 is not an easy game. There is a lot of things that can go wrong with your campaign. Even when things are going well, it's pretty easy to, slip up, forget something, and then kind of death spiral. With food, it's real bad when you start running out of food. You need to feed people. But these kind of things, I just feel like having just that really quite minor barrier to entry, it's fine. Anyway, I've been rambling now. I think I've put my point across. I'm fine if you disagree with me. I want it to remain amicable. I think it's, it's fine if you think that, Victoria 3, Stellaris, and CK3 had the right idea, making Ironman not a requirement. But at the end of the day, those are different teams, different game designers, and I am Johan's biggest glazer. But no, I think this is the better solution, and I support this. If you don't, that's fine. Let's have a conversation about it. But leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video if you liked it, and remember, I have a link in the description and in the pinned comment that lets you give me a little bit of money to get the game that you're probably going to get anyway. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.